My wife looked at me with this sweet smile and goes, "Working nights is perfect for us. More time together during the day." This was right after I'd started driving Uber nights to help cover our mortgage while she worked her day shift at the medical office. I just smiled back and said, "Perfect timing helps me see everything clearly." Then I showed her the dashcam footage of her getting into another man's car during her supposed girls' night out, along with GPS coordinates that proved she'd been at hotels when she claimed to be at friends' houses. She realized real quick that some drivers keep very detailed records when the divorce papers included time-stamped evidence of every lie she'd told me. If you're into stories about technology revealing the truth people try to hide, definitely hit that subscribe button because this journey into digital evidence gets absolutely mind-blowing. I need to paint you the full picture of how naive I was going into this situation. I'm 29, been driving Uber nights for about 8 months to help make ends meet. My wife Sarah works at this medical office downtown, decent pay, regular hours, seemed like we had a good system worked out. The night driving actually started because Sarah suggested it. "You could make extra money while I'm sleeping," she said. "Then we'd have more time together during the day when I'm off work." Made perfect sense to me. I'd drive from like 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., sleep until noon, then we'd have the afternoon together before she went to bed. Seemed like the perfect schedule for a married couple trying to build their financial future. What I didn't realize at the time was that Sarah had basically engineered the perfect cover for her own activities. While I was out driving strangers around the city, she was free to do whatever she wanted with no questions asked. The first hint something was off came about 3 months into my night driving routine. Sarah started having these girls' nights that always seemed to happen on my busiest driving nights, Friday and Saturday when surge pricing was highest. "Emma's going through a rough breakup," she'd tell me. "We're having a support night at Jessica's place." Or, "The girls want to try that new wine bar downtown. Girl time, you know." I thought it was sweet that she was being such a good friend. Never occurred to me to question it because I trusted her completely. But here's where my job started working against her without either of us realizing it. As an Uber driver, you get really familiar with the city. You know which neighborhoods people go to for different activities. You recognize patterns in where people want to be picked up and dropped off. And you definitely know the difference between residential areas where friends live and hotel districts where people go for other reasons. One Saturday night, I'm driving through downtown around midnight when I see Sarah walking out of the Marriott with some guy I'd never seen before. They're holding hands, laughing, definitely not the body language of friends or coworkers. I almost pulled over to say hi, thinking maybe her girls' night had moved locations or something. But something about the way they were touching each other made me hesitate. They got into a black BMW and drove off before I could decide what to do. That image bothered me for weeks. I kept telling myself there was probably an innocent explanation. Maybe it was someone's cousin visiting from out of town. Maybe the girls' night had turned into a group thing with other people. Maybe I'd misunderstood what I was seeing. The thing that really started eating at me was how Sarah's stories about these girls' nights never quite added up. She'd say they went to Jessica's apartment, but then mention details about restaurants or bars they'd supposedly visited. She'd talk about deep conversations with Emma, but then not be able to remember what they'd discussed when I asked later. That's when I realized I had access to tools that could either put my mind at ease or confirm my worst fears. Every Uber driver has a dashcam for safety and insurance purposes. It records everything that happens in front of your car while you're driving. What I hadn't thought about was that it also records everything you see while you're parked or waiting for rides. I started reviewing my dashcam footage from Sarah's girls' nights, looking for any glimpse of her around the city. What I found made my blood run cold. On 3 separate occasions, I had footage of Sarah getting into that same black BMW in different locations around the city. Hotel parking lots, upscale restaurant districts, places that had nothing to do with where her friends lived. But the dashcam was just the beginning of what technology revealed about Sarah's actual activities. See, we shared a family phone plan with location sharing turned on. It was supposed to be for safety, so we'd know if the other person was in an accident or needed help. Sarah had actually suggested it when I started night driving. "This way I'll know you're safe while you're out there," she'd said. What she didn't think about was that location sharing works both ways. I started checking Sarah's location during her supposed girls' nights. According to her phone's GPS, she was spending time at hotels, restaurants, and apartment complexes that didn't match any of the addresses she'd given me for her friends. One particular Friday night, she told me she was having dinner with the girls at Emma's place, which was supposedly in the suburbs. But her phone showed her at a downtown hotel for 4 hours, then at a 24-hour diner until almost 3 a.m. When I asked about her night the next morning, she had this elaborate story about helping Emma deal with her ex-boyfriend drama and losing track of time talking through relationship problems. "We ordered pizza and just stayed up way too late," she said. "You know how girl talk goes, right? Girl talk at a hotel." The final piece of evidence came from our shared iPad. We used the same Apple ID for convenience, which meant text notifications showed up on both devices. Usually not a problem since I was driving when Sarah was home and vice versa. But one night I came home early from driving because of weather, and Sarah was already asleep. The iPad was on the kitchen counter, and I saw a text notification pop up from someone named Mike. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. Same place." I sat there staring at that message, realizing that Sarah had been carrying on a full relationship while I was out working nights to support our household. The next morning, I casually asked Sarah about her plans for the weekend. "Just the usual girls' night tomorrow," she said. "Emma's still struggling with her breakup." Same place. Emma's breakup. Right. That night, instead of driving my usual route, I parked near the hotel where Sarah's phone said she was supposed to be. Around 8 p.m., I watched her walk in with the same guy from my dashcam footage. I sat in my car for 3 hours, documenting everything. Time stamps, photos, GPS coordinates. The whole time thinking about how Sarah had convinced me to work nights so we could have more time together during the day. When Sarah came home that night, she launched into another elaborate story about Emma's emotional crisis and how supportive the friend group was being. "We barely left Jessica's apartment," she said. "Just ordered takeout and watched movies while Emma cried." I looked at her, this person I'd been married to for 3 years, who'd been constructing these detailed fictional narratives while I worked nights to pay for our life together. "Sounds like a really supportive group," I said. "Oh, they are. I'm so lucky to have friends like that." Lucky, right. The next day, while Sarah was at work, I used my Uber driver network to do some detective work. Posted a photo of the black BMW in our driver Facebook group, asking if anyone knew whose car it was. Within an hour, I had my answer. The car belonged to Mike Chen, who worked at the same medical office as Sarah. 3 different drivers had picked him up from that address for airport runs. Turns out Mike was married with 2 kids, living in the suburbs, and apparently using downtown hotels to meet my wife while his family thought he was working late. Armed with all this evidence, I made copies of everything. Dashcam footage, GPS location data, text message screenshots, photos of Sarah and Mike together. Then I called a divorce attorney. "I have extensive documentation of my wife's affair," I told the lawyer. "What kind of documentation?" I spent an hour laying out the digital evidence trail. The lawyer was impressed with how thorough and time-stamped everything was. "This is some of the most comprehensive infidelity evidence I've ever seen," she said. "Your work as an Uber driver inadvertently created a perfect surveillance system." 2 weeks later, I sat Sarah down for what I thought would be the hardest conversation of my life. "I know about Mike," I said simply. Her face went completely white. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my laptop and started showing her the evidence. Dashcam footage of her with Mike. GPS data showing her at hotels during girls' nights. Text messages about meeting at the same place. "How long have you been tracking me?" she asked. "I haven't been tracking you. I've been doing my job. Your affair just happened to cross paths with my work route multiple times." She tried to deny it at first, then switched to justification. "You're never home. I was lonely. Mike understands what I'm going through. Sarah, I was working nights because you suggested it. You literally designed this schedule so you could cheat on me." "That's not. I didn't plan this. You convinced me to work nights so we'd have more time together during the day, then used those nights to meet another man. That's planning." The divorce proceedings were surprisingly quick given how much evidence I had. Sarah couldn't contest the infidelity claims because everything was documented with timestamps and GPS coordinates. But the real satisfaction came from the ripple effects. I shared Mike's information with other Uber drivers as a safety-concerned married guy using rideshare to facilitate affairs, potentially dangerous situation for female drivers. Word spread through the driver network pretty quickly. One of those drivers happened to live in Mike's neighborhood and recognized him from my description. She mentioned it to her neighbor, who happened to be friends with Mike's wife. Mike's wife learned about the affair through the driver network before either Mike or Sarah realized their activities had been exposed to the broader community. Mike's marriage fell apart within a month. His wife filed for divorce with evidence of the affair, which affected custody arrangements for their kids. The medical office where he and Sarah worked implemented a policy about workplace relationships after the drama affected office productivity. Sarah had to find a new job because the tension with Mike's ongoing divorce made the workplace environment impossible. She moved back in with her parents and lost half of our shared assets in the divorce settlement. But here's what I learned from this whole experience. When someone suggests changes to your routine that benefit them more than you, question the motivation. When stories don't match up with observable evidence, trust the evidence. And when you're in a job that involves detailed record keeping, those records can reveal patterns you never intended to discover. My life is actually better now. I still drive Uber nights, but now the extra money goes toward my own goals instead of supporting someone who was using our arrangement to deceive me. I bought a small house, started taking classes during the day, and I'm seeing someone who appreciates that I work hard to build our future together. She thinks the whole GPS evidence thing is kind of funny. "So your job accidentally created a cheating surveillance system?" she asked when I told her the story. "That's either incredibly unlucky for her or incredibly lucky for you." I told her it was probably both, but at least it was honest. If this story taught you anything about trusting technology over explanations that don't add up, or if you've ever discovered someone's lies through completely accidental evidence, drop a comment about your experience. And definitely subscribe, because I've got more stories about how people's own choices created the evidence trail that exposed them. Sometimes the truth isn't hidden at all. It's just waiting for someone with the right tools to notice it.